Let's fast forward to 2010. We are due, we all think, an absolutely classic season. We've got Michael Schumacher coming back. Sebastian will be wanting to maintain his status as the fastest German in Formula One, won't he?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think it's great that Michael Schumacher's back in Formula One. I was still at school when he was first driving in Formula One, and I think that it gives hope to every 40-something-year-old out there that there's life in the old dog yet, and I'm sure he'll be very competitive. There's a huge amount of respect for Michael from his peers, and particularly from Sebastian, who's a close friend of his. But I'm sure when they're out on track, that he'll treat him as every other competitor, and they'll be both very keen to beat each other, I'm sure.
You say, of course, quite rightly that Red Bull is a young team, but in 2010 we've got some even younger teams. We've got some teams that don't even exist yet. What are your thoughts on these start-up operations? We hear rumours of no money, no car, no drivers. Are we going to have 26 cars on the Bahrain grid?
Well, I think you have to show a lot of respect to those teams. I think it's it's a massive task to design, produce, and then operate a Grand Prix car, and certainly with the resource that we have, it's going to be very, we're stretched. So one can only imagine and only have respect for the task that they have ahead of them. Hopefully they'll all make it, and I think it's positive for Formula One that there are new independent teams coming into the sport. It's good to see the Lotus name back in Formula One. It's going to be a big challenge for sure with them, but I'm sure they knew that before they signed the entry form. So I think it's, obviously we lost a few manufacturer teams going into this season, but I think, independent teams have been the stalwarts of Formula One, and, hopefully they'll all be there, in Bahrain and also in Abu Dhabi at the end of the year.
Red Bull, of course, is a classic example of an independent operation coming good. Do you think the future...
We would like to inform all visitors with tickets for the live action arena that the show will be at 12:30 today and not at 1 p.m. Would anyone with a 1 p.m. ticket please make their way to the arena as soon as possible? Thank you.
I'll get that cable.
Have they got anybody decent in the live action arena?
I'll get that cable pulled out in a minute. Yeah. Again, where was I? Independence. Red Bull, of course, very much a case of an independent that can go all the way. Do you think that's the future direction of Formula One? We've lost BMW, we've lost Toyota. Renault was iffy. Are we seeing a sea change?
I think it's always disappointing to see teams disappear, and one can only have sympathy for the the employees of those teams. But out of adversity comes opportunities, and hopefully opportunities have been created with the new teams. I think Formula One needs a balance of independence and manufactured teams. But I think the most important thing, perhaps where Formula One has been slightly guilty over in recent history, is that costs have spiraled significantly. And I think with the work that's been done collectively between the Formula One Teams Association, the FIA, and FOM, costs have been contained, which is enabling new teams to enter Formula One, and it enables a team such as Red Bull to be competitive. Certainly when we entered the sport in 2005 with unlimited testing, with tyre development wars going on, with huge engine costs, it was far more prohibitive. Whereas now, with costs having been significantly reduced, there's still quite a bit of work to do in that area, but with costs having been reduced and contained, it enables a privateer team such as ourselves to run at the front. And I think that's only positive for Formula One, that the challenge, it still has to be a technical challenge. It still has to be, man and machine at the absolute limit. But I think a lot of the unnecessary costs have managed to be addressed.
Are we entering an era of unity between the governing body, the FIA, we've got a new president, and the teams, and FOTA? Are we kind of singing from the same hymn sheet now?
I think that, obviously there's a lot of water gone under the bridge in recent years, and it's a relationship between the three parties that has to work in the interests of the sport, which is, the number one objective of all three parties. And I think that, Jean Todt will be a very strong president. I think the great thing about Jean is that He's run a Formula One team. He knows the challenges of that are involved in Formula One. But beyond that, he's been involved in sports cars. He's been involved in World Rally. So I think for the world of motorsport, he was the obvious candidate, to take over from Max Mosley. And I'm sure we can look forward to good things under his presidency.
A final few thoughts then on RB6. Adrian, who was supposed to be sitting on that stool there, I think is beavering away on the car. Just explain the thought process behind your recent announcement to miss the first test, to delay the arrival of RB6. What is the thinking behind that decision?
Well, strategically, it's something that we looked at and we considered. When you look at the planning of the car, it was something we elected to do in 2009. To give the designers and Adrian and his team as much time as possible to optimize the launch car. And last year it poured with rain for 3 days in Park Algarve, and we don't have good enough weather satellites to say it's going to do the same in Valencia. But it's a strategy we've adopted. We believe that it gives us the best preparation for the first race in Bahrain and the season ahead. And it's a long campaign, 19 races this year. So rightly or wrongly, that is our decision. It's an aggressive route to take. It's always been part of our strategy. And, we will hit the ground running at the second test in Jerez. It's the most southern test track in Europe, where hopefully the weather will be starting to warm up a little by then. And we believe that it gives us the best preparation for the first race in Bahrain.
You were holding out for a Mercedes engine for a number of months. It didn't happen in the end. Is that a factor in the car being late? Having to say, okay, we haven't got the Mercedes, we've got to continue our relationship with Renault. Has that made Adrian think, oh, well, I was going to do this, that, and the other based on Mercedes engine, gearbox, drivetrain, but I can't, I've got to do it this way because we've got a Renault?
I don't think the engine decision made any difference at all to our planning. There was obviously some discussions with Mercedes-Benz during the latter part of the summer, but as soon as it was clear what our engine choice was going to be, it hasn't compromised anything anyway. The engines these days, through regulations, are so similar in terms of their packaging that it hasn't compromised us, at all. And we're looking forward to, hopefully another good year with Renault. Engines, as the regulations are more stable, inevitably the chassis will converge, and engine performance is a key performance differentiator. And it's important that hopefully under a fair and equitable basis, one engine won't be allowed to have a significant advantage over its peers.
Any effect for you guys on the sale of the Renault operation to Genie Capital? Will it make any difference to what is an engine supply deal for you?
Well, our deal was always with Renault Viry, where the engines are produced just south of Paris. So we don't actually have any interaction with the Renault Enstone team. So as far as our working relationship with Renault, it doesn't affect in any way, shape or form. And it's good to see that a solution was found for the Enstone team to be on the grid in Formula One.
Christian, always good to talk to you. Have a great season. I know RB6 will be a monster. Let's hope you can go all the way. Thank you very much. Christian Horner.